Hi there. Often a big emphasis is put on the budget surplus and what that means to people. I want to know, forgive me if this comes across as naive, but other than as an indicator of growth when no cuts have been made, surely a surplus indicates that it's money that could have been spent elsewhere in infrastructure such as the NBN, or why is it such an issue for people?
Or it's money that shouldn't be spent because you've spent it a few years before. You see, there isn't any magic pudding. And I've written a long essay about this called Keynesians on the way up, Keynesians on the way down. We went deeply into deficit during the GFC because that was the appropriate thing to do. But as we came out of the GFC and the economy began to grow, the appropriate thing to do then is to pay down your debt as you grow. And we started to do that, but unfortunately got derailed by a revenue problem. And it's about the only thing I share in common with Joe Hockey is that he has one too. It's just that he won't admit it. So, you know, it's simple economics, and in the good times, you build up reserves because you use them in the bad times. That simple fact is completely denied by supposedly a Conservative government. So they now sprout the view that you should be running surpluses all the time, despite the fact that the surpluses over the forward estimates are 4 times what they would have been, sorry, their deficits over the forward estimates are 4 times what they would have been under us. The fact is that you've got to run an economy which is a combination of things which produce growth, and that growth comes from productivity, which gives you more money to use to do the social objectives you want. You've got to grow your economy in a sustainable way, both economically and environmentally, and you use the product of that to do the good things you want to do in society. That's just basic Keynesian economics. But the Conservative mantra that's out there at the moment is in denial about the very basics of it. And this is dangerous because essentially, if they would have had their way during the GFC and the government had done nothing, laissez-faire if you like, sit on your hands, then what we would have seen was really massive unemployment and community destruction. Why this debate about what happened in the GFC is so important goes to the heart of your question. Because if we are to have another downturn in the future, will the government now, in light of this experience, say, oh, we're going to sit back and just let it happen? We were very close globally to another Great Depression in 2008, 2009. It was touch and go globally. While we were so admired internationally was that we took a classic Keynesian position that many other governments around the world couldn't take, and the American president couldn't take because he couldn't get it through his Congress. And the reason that our economy, 6 years after that event, was 15% larger, and the US economy was only 4%, was that we applied a Keynesian prescription. They were stopped from doing it by their Congress. Ditto to some extent in Great Britain. If we take the wrong lessons out of that, the next time it happens, then we will end up having a situation where we experience years and years of low growth, high unemployment and community destruction.
We're nearly out of time. I might just ask you one last question, Wayne. I've often observed that the only thing that Conservatives hate more than a budget deficit is collecting the revenue to fix one.
Yes.
And at the Australian Institute, we've done a lot of work over the years on the rapidly rising cost of tax concessions for superannuation, and in turn the incredible inequality it builds into an income system where, for the first time in modern history, we've now got a tax-free stream of income if your accountant is good enough to figure out how to get the cash in. Now, the government kind of called for some bipartisanship on superannuation reform. Labor offered a modest but I think useful contribution to that, and then Abbott slammed the door in your face. So my question is, was that to piss off Hockey or you?
No, it was to punch himself in the face. No, but this is a classic sort of starve the beast strategy, to use the American terminology. The American terminology basically says that in the States, you know, the people that really want the low tax, minimal government intervention road are quite happy to see budgets blow out, because that then creates the environment in which they go out and ask for the spending cuts to reduce the social safety net. So, in a sense, and this I think applies to what the government is up to at the moment, they're quite happy to have, in a sense, the deficits blow out, because that is the pressure that they then use to implement the agenda they really want, which is to take a meat cleaver to the social safety net and also achieve a tax mix switch away from profit-based taxes and progressive taxes in the personal income tax system onto a higher GST on individuals and particularly low and middle income earners. So they're using higher deficits as the stalking horse for a complete change of the tax system, where rates are flattened and indirect taxation increases as a proportion of the total tax take paid by punters. That's what it's really on about, and that's still the agenda of this government, because if it wasn't, they would be vigorously dealing with these tax expenditures. Look, it's pretty weird when you get David Murray out there saying that we should be dealing with the top-end tax concessions, who's, after all, appointed by the government to conduct an inquiry into the stability of the financial system, and he's repudiated by the Prime Minister who wants to play politics. So what is the government trying to set up? Anyone who listens to Question Time? Anyone here that desperate? Hand up. You will have noticed in the last couple of weeks that Abbott has got into the habit of saying the Labor Party is the welfare party and the Liberals are the workers' party. Oh. Yep. It's true. And what he's now saying is we shouldn't remove these outrageous tax concessions that people with lots of money have got at the top of the super system, because that's not our money, that is the government's money, that's their money. As if the tax concessions that they've got have got nothing to do with the rest of us. So he's trying to set up an argument that we're going to thieve the superannuation money of everyone, when in fact what we actually want to do is increase the superannuation money of most people on low and middle incomes and take away outrageous concessions at the top. And they see that as being different from the changes that they're now intending to make to the income and asset test, which determines the eligibility for an age pension. So he's setting up this sort of false choice that, Labor Party, all they want to do is steal your money. They want to steal your money. That is, their superannuation money. Is if the money over here that's paying the age pension and all the other rules has got nothing to do with any, with the other side of the equation. So they want to run against the Labor Party, saying we're a high taxing party that's going to steal people's superannuation savings, and therefore they can't admit that they should be doing something about top-end tax concessions in super, but quite happy to take a family tax benefit Part B off a low-income family, and as if they're two entirely separate things which are unrelated. Now, I think this is an absurd proposition which surely can't stand as we go through a very long and prolonged debate, but that's the sort of line that they're trying to do, or trying to draw, that it's all an expenditure problem, and if you really want to solve the deficit and debt equation, then we've got to go over here and attack all these other things like unemployment benefit, because there's still a proposal out there that young unemployed can't get the benefit for the first month, still sitting there, and a series of other things. It's all about starving the beast, shrinking government, and maximising every tactic you can in the economy and the political system to bring that about.